Look at this wall. Flat, boring, zero personality. Now look at it after a weekend and about $40. That transformation? That is what we're doing today. And I promise you do not need to be an artist, hire a contractor, or spend thousands to make it happen. Most people scroll Pinterest, save 100 inspo photos, and then do absolutely nothing because it feels too complicated or too expensive. But what if I told you the wall in your bedroom right now is one afternoon away from looking like it belongs in an interior design magazine? I have done this myself. I have messed up. I have fixed it. And I'm going to walk you through every single step so you skip the mistakes I made. Before we get into it, if you are new here, subscribe and hit the bell because we do real DIY content on this channel. No fluff, no pretending it is easier than it is. And if you stay until the end of this video, I am sharing the one finishing trick that most DIY creators skip, and it is honestly what makes the difference between a wall that looks homemade and one that looks like a designer did it. So do not leave early. Why accent walls are having a moment in 2026. Accent walls never really went away, but the way people are doing them in 2026 has completely changed. We are done with the era of just slapping a dark paint color on one wall and calling it a day. Right now, the trend is texture, geometry, and intentional contrast. Think Limewash paint, boucle-inspired wall panels, fluted with strips and arched plaster details. Interior designers are charging anywhere from $800 to $3,000 just for the labor on these kinds of walls. But the materials, when you buy them yourself, often cost between $30 and $150 depending on the look you go for. That gap is exactly why DIY accent walls are blowing up on social media right now. The other thing driving this trend is that renters and homeowners alike are looking for non-permanent ways to add character to their spaces. 2026 has brought a surge in peel and stick solutions, paintable wallpaper, and removable panel systems that actually look good. So whether you own your place or rent it, there's an option here for you. Why accent walls are having a moment in 2026. Accent walls never really went away, but the way people are doing them in 2026 has completely changed. We are done with the era of just slapping a dark paint color on one wall and calling it a day. Right now, the trend is texture, geometry, and intentional contrast. Think Limewash paint, boucle-inspired wall panels, fluted with strips and arched plaster details. Interior designers are charging anywhere from $800 to $3,000 just for the labor on these kinds of walls. But the materials, when you buy them yourself, often cost between $30 and $150 depending on the look you go for. That gap is exactly why DIY accent walls are blowing up on social media right now. The other thing driving this trend is that renters and homeowners alike are looking for non-permanent ways to add character to their spaces. 2026 has brought a surge in peel and stick solutions, paintable wallpaper, and removable panel systems that actually look good. So whether you own your place or rent it, there's an option here for you. Choosing your accent wall style. This is a step most people rush, and it is where most DIY accent walls go wrong. You want to pick a style that fits your room, not just something that looked cool on someone else's feed. There are 5 main styles that are crushing it right now. The first is the Limewash Wall. This is a paint technique that gives your wall an aged, textural, almost Italian villa look. It is forgiving, it is fast, and it is honestly one of the easiest things you can do for a high-end result. Brands like Pertola Paints and Roman Clay by Backdrop have made this super accessible in 2026. The second is the Fluted wood panel wall. You use thin MDF or real wood strips installed vertically to create a ribbed, architectural look. It photographs beautifully, adds actual dimension to the room, and you can paint it any color you want. The third is the geometric tape wall. This is the budget king. You use painter's tape, a level, and 2 paint colors to create triangles, diamonds, or abstract shapes. It takes patience but costs almost nothing. The fourth is the plaster arch wall. You use joint compound or a DIY plaster mix to create a large arch shape on the wall, either painted or left textured. This one has been everywhere on interior design accounts, and it is more doable than it looks. The fifth is the shiplap or board and batten wall. Classic, clean, and it works in almost every bedroom style from farmhouse to modern. Pick one style and commit to it. Mixing 2 styles on the same wall almost never works, unless you really know what you are doing. Tools and materials you actually need. Let me be real with you here. Every DIY video on YouTube shows a perfectly organized tool cart with 40 items on it. You do not need that. Here is the honest list for the most popular options. For a Limewash wall, you need Limewash paint or Roman clay, a large chip brush or a natural bristle brush, a roller for the base coat, painter's tape, a drop cloth, and a damp rag. That is it. For a fluted wood panel wall, you need MDF panel strips or pre-cut fluted panels, a nail gun or heavy-duty construction adhesive, a miter saw or a hand saw, sandpaper, primer, paint, and a level. For a geometric tape wall, you need 2 paint colors, painter's tape, a level, a pencil, a measuring tape, and a small foam roller. For plaster art, you need pre-mixed joint compound or Venetian plaster, a large putty knife or taping knife, sandpaper, a stencil or cardboard to trace your arch, and paint if you want it colored. Total budget ranges. Limewash wall, $40 to $90. Fluted panels, $60 to $150. Geometric tape, $20 to $50. Plaster arch, $35 to $80. Shiplap or board and batten, $70 to $200 depending on your wall size. Step by step, the Limewash technique. I am going to walk through Limewash in detail because it is the most beginner friendly and the result looks the most expensive for the cost if you're doing a different technique. Stick around anyway because the prep steps apply to every method. Step 1 is prep your wall. This means cleaning it with a damp cloth to remove any dust or grease, filling any holes with spackle, letting it dry, and sanding it smooth. Do not skip this. Limewash is a translucent finish, and it will show every imperfection you leave behind. Step 2 is tape your edges. Use painter's tape along the ceiling line, baseboards, and any adjacent walls. Press it down firmly with a putty knife to prevent bleed. Step 3 is apply your base coat. Roll on a thin, even layer of your Limewash paint in a flat, one-directional motion. This is not your finish coat. It is just your base. Let it dry for at least 2 hours. Step 4 is a texture layer. This is where Limewash gets its character. Load your chip brush with paint and apply it in random, overlapping X motions. Do not be too uniform. Work in 2-foot sections, so the paint does not dry before you can manipulate it. Step 5 is the wet rag blend. While the texture layer is still slightly wet, take a damp rag and lightly wipe over it in circular motions. This softens the brush marks and gives you that blended, aged look. The more you wipe, the more subtle the effect. The less you wipe, the more dramatic. Step 6 is your second texture pass. Once the first texture layer is fully dry, go back in with a second, lighter pass of paint. Concentrate on the edges and corners of the wall. This adds depth and makes it look like the wall has been there for decades. Step 7 is removing the tape. Do this while the final layer is still slightly tacky, not fully dry. Pull it back at a 45-degree angle to avoid peeling your paint. Step by step, the fluted panel wall. For those of you going the fluted wood route, here is how to do it without it looking cheap. Step 1 is measure and plan. Measure your wall width and decide on your panel spacing. For a standard bedroom wall, panels that are 2 to 3 inches wide with a 1/4-inch gap between them look the most designer. Map this out on paper before you buy anything. Step 2 is cut your panels. You can buy pre-cut fluted MDF panels at most home improvement stores now, or order them online. If you are cutting yourself, use a miter saw for clean edges. Sand any rough cuts before installing. Step 3 is paint your wall first. Yes, before installing panels. Paint the entire wall in your chosen color. This way, if there are any small gaps between panels, you will not see raw white drywall through them. Step 4 is install your panels. Start from the center of the wall and work outward so the panels are symmetrical. Use construction adhesive for a no-nail approach or a nail gun for a more permanent hold. Use a level constantly. One crooked panel throws off the whole wall. Step 5 is fill nail holes and seams. Use wood filler on any nail holes and a thin bead of paintable caulk along the top and bottom edges where the panels meet the wall. This is a step most people skip, and it is what separates a DIY look from a designer look. Step 6 is paint everything. Now that panels are installed and caulked, roll paint over the entire surface panels, and wall together, so it reads as one cohesive architectural element rather than stuff glued to a wall. The mistakes I made so you do not have to. Here are the honest mistakes I made the first time I did this. Mistake 1, I did not prime. On a Limewash wall, I thought I could skip primer. The paint absorbed unevenly, and I had to start over. Always prime a fresh or patch wall. Mistake 2, I worked too large a section at a time on my Limewash wall. The paint dried before I could blend it, and I ended up with hard, obvious stroke lines. Work small, blend fast. Mistake 3, I installed fluted panels starting from one side of the wall instead of centering them. I ended up with a full panel on one side and a tiny sliver on the other. It looked terrible. Always start from center. Mistake 4, I skipped caulking the panel edges. Without it, there was a visible gap between the top of the panels and the ceiling. It looked unfinished. Caulk is cheap. Use it. Mistake 5, I pulled my painter's tape off when the paint was fully dry. It took chunks of paint with it. Pulled tape when paint is tacky, not dry. How to style your new accent wall. The wall is done. Now do not ruin it with bad styling. Here is what works. Keep the furniture in front of your accent wall simple and low profile. A Limewash or fluted panel wall is already doing a lot of visual work. A giant upholstered headboard in a loud fabric will compete with it. Go for something clean and understated. Use lighting intentionally. A wall sconce on either side of your accent wall or an LED strip light at the top pointing down adds shadow and dimension that makes the texture pop 10 times more. This is one of the most underrated moves in bedroom design right now. Layer your bedding toward the neutral side. If your accent wall is bold, warm neutrals on the bed will ground the space. If your accent wall is subtle, you have more room to play with texture and pattern on the bed. Do not cover wall with too many frames or art pieces. 1 or 2 intentional pieces, ideally leaning rather than hung, keeps the wall as a focal point. Trust the wall to do the talking. The finishing trick nobody tells you. All right, I promised you this at the start, and here it is. The single thing that takes a DIY accent wall from looking like a DIY to looking like a designer it is painting the adjacent walls a shade lighter than your accent wall. Most people paint the accent wall and leave the other 3 walls in a flat white, or whatever they were before. What this does is make the accent wall look pasted on and disconnected from the room. But when your other walls are a very soft, warm grayish or a muted off-white that is just 1 or 2 shades lighter than your accent color, the whole room feels intentional and cohesive. You do not have to repaint the entire room. Even just the 2 side walls adjacent to your accent wall is enough to create that transition. Interior designers call this color zoning, and it is one of the easiest ways to make a room feel professionally designed. Also, finish your paint with the right sheen. Accent walls almost always look better in eggshell or satin, not flat or matte. The slight sheen catches light and makes the wall look richer. Flat paint on a texture wall just makes it look dusty. Quick budget breakdown recap. Here is a clean breakdown so you can plan before you go shopping. Limewash wall on a standard 10 by 9 foot wall. Approximately $40 to $70 in materials. Time needed is about 4 to 6 hours including drying time. Fluted wood panel wall same size. Approximately $80 to $150 depending on whether you buy pre-cut panels or cut your own. Time needed is about 6 to 8 hours. Geometric tape wall. Approximately $20 to $45. This is the most time-consuming option in terms of taping, but the fastest in terms of drying. Set aside a full day. Plaster arch feature wall. Approximately $35 to $75. Time needed is about 3 to 5 hours, not counting the 24-hour drying time for plaster. All of these are well within reach for most budgets, and the result is a room that looks genuinely expensive. A designer would charge you 10 times this just for consultation. If you actually do this, I want to see it. Share your before and after in the comments or tag me wherever you hang out online. There is something genuinely satisfying about transforming a space with your own hands and a little bit of patience. And a boring bedroom wall is honestly one of the best places to start because it is low risk and high reward. If this video helped you, hit the like button. It helps more people find this content. Subscribe if you want more real, honest DIY content without the fluff. And check out the video on screen right now, because it goes into painting techniques that pair perfectly with everything we covered today. Go make something. Your walls are waiting.